The story begins with a man named Abram. He lived in a great city with his wife, Sarai. They were very old and had no children. One day, God spoke to Abram. God told him to leave his home, his family, and everything he knew. God told him to go to a new land that he would show him. God made an amazing promise to Abram. He said, "I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make your name famous. All the families on earth will be blessed because of you." This was a very big promise because Abram and Sarai were too old to have children. But Abram believed God. He packed up all his belongings, he gathered his wife and his nephew Lot and all their servants and animals. They began a very long journey to this new land called Canaan. When they arrived, God appeared to Abram again. God said, "Look as far as you can see. All this land I will give to your children forever." Abram built an altar there to thank God for his promise. Even though he still had no son, he trusted that God would keep his word. Many years passed. Abram and Sarai were getting even older. Still, they had no child. The promise of a great family seemed impossible. Sarai grew sad and suggested a plan. She told Abram to have a child with her servant Hagar. This was a common custom in their time, but it was not God's perfect plan. Abram agreed. Hagar had a son named Ishmael. This caused many problems. There was arguing and unhappiness in the family. 13 more years went by. When Abram was 99 years old, God spoke to him again. God changed his name from Abram, which means exalted father, to Abraham, which means father of many nations. God also changed Sarai's name to Sarah, which means princess. God said that Sarah herself would have a son. Abraham laughed because he was 100 years old and Sarah was 90. But God said, "Yes, your wife Sarah will have a son and you will name him Isaac." Not long after, 3 visitors came to Abraham's tent. He welcomed them warmly. Then they told him that by the same time next year, Sarah would have a son. Sarah was listening and she laughed to herself because it seemed so silly. But the visitor said, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" And true to his word, Sarah had a baby boy. They named him Isaac, which means laughter. Abraham's joy was complete. The son of the promise had finally arrived. Isaac grew from a baby into a strong boy. He was the treasure of his parents' hearts. Abraham loved him more than anything. Then one day, God called Abraham in a way that must have broken his heart. God said, "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a sacrifice on a mountain I will show you." This command made no sense. It seemed to destroy the very promise God had made. Why would God give a son only to ask him back? But early the next morning, Abraham obeyed. He did not argue. He simply saddled his donkey, took Isaac and 2 servants, and chopped wood for the fire. They traveled for 3 long days. When Abraham saw the mountain in the distance, he told his servants to wait. He said, "The boy and I will go over there to worship, and then we will come back to you." He believed that somehow both he and Isaac would return. Isaac carried the wood. Abraham carried the fire and a sharp knife. As they climbed, Isaac asked a question. "Father, we have the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the sacrifice?" Abraham answered with faith. He said, "God himself will provide the lamb for the sacrifice, my son." When they reached the place, Abraham built an altar. He carefully arranged the wood. Then, with a heavy heart, he tied up his son Isaac and laid him on top of the wood. Abraham reached out his hand, he took the knife, and prepared to do the unthinkable. At that very last second, the angel of the Lord shouted from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham, do not hurt the boy or do anything to him. Now I know that you truly respect God, because you were willing to give me your only son." Abraham looked up. His heart was pounding. There, in a nearby thicket, he saw a ram. Its horns were caught in the bushes. God had provided the lamb. Abraham untied Isaac. Together they took the ram and offered it to God instead of Isaac. Abraham was so grateful. He named that place, "The Lord will provide." Then the angel of the Lord spoke to Abraham again. This time the voice was full of blessing. "Because you have done this and have not kept your only son from me, I promise this: I will bless you more than you can imagine. I will give you as many children as there are stars in the sky or sand on the beach. They will conquer their enemies, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed because of your family, because you obeyed my voice." Abraham and Isaac walked down the mountain. They returned to the waiting servants. They went back home to Sarah. The terrible test was over. Abraham's faith had been proven true. The family line was safe, and through Isaac would come many more people, leading all the way to Jesus, who would be the greatest blessing of all to every nation on earth.